Welcome to Finding Hope, the End to Suffering. Hosted by psychologist, author, and co-founder of the Colorado Institute for Conflict Resolution and Creative Leadership, Dr. Barry Weinhold, with national radio host, award-winning producer, and inspirational speaker, Patricia Raskin.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Finding Hope, the End to Suffering. I'm Patricia Raskin, and I'm the co-host with Dr. Barry Weinhold, who created this podcast series after his many decades and written over 70 books on this topic of really helping people change their beliefs and change their lives. Welcome, Barry.
Thank you, Patricia.
All right.
I couldn't do this without you. So I want to give you credit for all the decades of work that you've put in as a host and co-host for other podcasts.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. And, you know, having Dr. Arnold Nerenberg on, who is our guest, was such an amazing story. He changed his beliefs later in life, not earlier.
Right. And that means that it's never too late.
Exactly. And I think that also really looks at that whole myth of ageism, that, you're too old. We're going to break that myth apart here. Now, Barry, you've written books on this subject of changing your beliefs.
Yeah.
So just talk about that before we bring Dr. Nerenberg back on.
Well, I actually did I'm in my second series of 4 of books on twisted beliefs. The first one was all ebooks, and they are available on Amazon. And so the Twisted Beliefs series, and book 1 is the one we showed the cover of, which is premature hardening of the categories as a kind of a metaphor for rigid beliefs. And so then the others are about the beliefs of predators. I think it's important to understand that people we call predators, I call them human predators, have a belief system that's pretty twisted. And if we understand what that twisted belief system is, we can understand why they're doing what they're doing. Not that it excuses them, but at least helps us understand it. And then I wrote another one about how to change your beliefs. And then finally, I wrote one about, I kind of pulled on a lot of different traditions on how people looked at beliefs and talked about that in the 4th book. So that's my first series. And now I'm working on a second series. And the first book in the new series is just called Twisted Beliefs. And the subtitle is Blurring the Lines Between Reality and Fantasy. And when people don't have their belief system correct, I think that's why we have so much trouble right now with the divisions in our country, because they're all based on belief systems. And it's pretty hard to know what's real and what's fake news and other things right now. But So that's what I delve into now, since it's more current. And the current series I'm working on reflects more of the collective belief phenomena as well as the personal beliefs. So anyway,
that's what I asked you to bring. That's why you thought of Dr. Arnold Nerenberg to bring on.
Absolutely.
Really talking about this.
And I started in the first segment with talking about the 10 most common twisted beliefs that get people in trouble. I only went through 4, and I was going to do some more during our time here, but I think I'll just let people go and look at read my blogs, because I'll have them in there and they're available on our Facebook page. Ben, do you want to put up that link to the Facebook page again so that people know where to go to get and read the beliefs, because the other 6 are equally bad in terms of getting people in trouble. So, but I just didn't want to take any more time to talk about them. And so we have such a wonderful guest, and I don't want to take his time. So,
all right. So welcome, Dr. Arnold Nerenberg.
And welcome. Thank you. Welcome to you. Thank you for welcoming me here. I'm so happy to be with both of you.
When we left off the last show, you were talking about the beliefs, the core beliefs of honor that you teach people. And then you also talked about, a felony that you had that was another wake-up call. So we'd love to hear more about that, and also the beliefs again, and, how you help people incorporate them. Barry, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think the core belief that got Arnold moving in this direction was this belief that he was a coward. when he was like 14 years old, when he ran away from a fight with two big guys. And so it's been out of that belief of there was something wrong with him that he had to correct, that he strove to get better at building his body, and eventually became the world's strongest man at age 65, who was drug-free, and became a psychologist, and became somebody who began to turn his life around. But then he hit a snag, and I'll ask him to talk about that about the felony, and what that was the kind of the place where he really turned everything around. So why don't you talk about that, Arnold, to start with?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. First, I tremendously enjoy your comments that you're making, Patricia, your insights, your ability to do what you do. And the same for you, Barry. I'm just thrilled with the whole energy flow. It's just very uplifting being here with you. I got to tell you that personally. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would say here's a belief system I've developed, at least for me, and I'm sure for many. I'm very successful, but my road to success is paved with failures, just miserable failures, morally, financially, emotionally. So there's a core belief that I have. The road to success is paved with failures. And, I've given lectures on that. And something, people want to hide these things. But people want to hide that they struggle. I want people to know it's okay that you struggle. It's okay that you suffer. You just got to deal with it. And to deal with it honorably is a wonderful thing. But let me tell you something about your thoughts. You're getting to get a lot of negative thoughts. I had them. You're having them. But you got to know one thing at the core of my system. These negative thoughts, you didn't choose them. You are not responsible for the thoughts that pop into your mind that do not define who you are. You're more a reflection of the thought you choose to have. Now, because the thoughts that pop in your mind are based on genetics, family upbringing, societal norms. So this is a big relief. When that thought came to me and I understood that, wow. So now I have found the most powerful thoughts in the universe. There's 4 of them, but then there's another 25 that I call the 25 laws of honor. And these things emerged from my own suffering, from my own struggles, from my own failures, from my own crisis, my own tribulation, from the mistakes that I've made. And I've made so many, but each one led to suffering and led to progress. And then one day I understood something that came to me just this way. Enshrined within your deepest struggle is the seed of your nobility, your destiny, and your legacy. And that thought came to me because I don't want people to be ashamed of their struggles. I'm not ashamed of my struggles whatsoever. My failures, none of it.
Would you say that? Excuse me. Would you say that again? I think that's profound.
Enshrined within your deepest struggle is the seed of your nobility, your destiny, and your legacy.
Wow.
Without pain and suffering, you cannot achieve wisdom. Impossible. If a person never suffered, show me a person who says they never suffered. I'll show you a person who has no wisdom. There might be lovely people, lovely, but there's no wisdom. It's impossible. You have to be in pain to gain wisdom. Absolute necessity. So one of the blessings and one of the powers that we're grateful for is when I suffer, I always know I'm going to get stronger from it. And that's one of my commandments of honor. I'll come back. I'm grateful for the power I gained from hardship. So I talked about when I ran from the fight. Then as a psychologist, I used to see a lot of people who worked for the federal government, particularly in the post office. Some of them were ready to go postal, literally kill. Think of one wanted to kill a supervisor. He was going to strangle him. He was going to do it. I pulled him out on workers' comp claims. Half the time, they rejected it. So I would see somebody 6 months to a year. My patient didn't get paid. And I didn't get paid. So what I used to do, I would see somebody 5 times that I was getting paid. That's how I was seeing somebody after the government was paying me, their insurance was paying me. I'd bill 8 times or 10 times after seeing them 5 times. Well, it was criminal. And it's not like I didn't know. I knew it. I was already deeply a spiritual. Here I was, a deeply spiritual person. Hadn't formulated the commandments of honor, but I had what I called power thoughts at the time. So I would bill this way, but every time I would sign the billing statement to send to the government, I would say, God, please forgive me. I wanted it because I knew it was wrong. And I went to a very elaborate justification of saying, so I wrote a book to deal with it called The Lesser of Two Evils. I felt it was wrong to do this, but it's more wrong to turn these people away and wrong for me to not be able to pay my bills. So I did that. I justified it. It was, but there really is no excuse for that. But we all justify our wrongdoings, including myself. And I used to ask God to deliver me first. I said, deliver for me. I've got patents on food products, food supplements, different products. I said, let me make money from that so I don't have to do this. I kept asking God. And then when the money came in, I'd say, God, thank you for being generous to a thief like me. So I never pretended I wasn't a thief, because I was. At the same time, I was deeply spiritual. I used to talk about very profound truths and spiritual principles. But I never would talk about truth because I was lying. I was lying to make that money come in. Well, I didn't make a lot of money at these other things, but I did get delivered from my problem. And I was just locked into it. One day, the FBI, OIG, ICE, Homeland Security, helicopter raided my home with 10 cars, came to my building. The whole thing was just raided. Now, I was shocked by it because I thought, you've heard about it's too big to fail. I thought I was too small to fail. I was just doing with a few people. You know, I have about 9 active patients. I thought I was too small to fail. I didn't think they'd ever want to spend that kind of money to come after me, but they did. And I'm grateful. So here's what happened. So first I was apprehended on the streets by the police. I get the FBI, they told them to go get me. So the local police came after me, took me in the police department. And I was with the FBI agents that were there around the table. My attorney said, don't talk to them about anything. So I talked about weightlifting, marriage, one thing or another. Now, let me say this. At that time, my wife thought I was cheating on her, which I was not cheating on her, but she thought I was. I used to say to her, if you want to accuse me of thoughts about other women, I'm guilty. But I have no secrets. I've never done anything. I've never had a secret lunch, seeing somebody naked or them seeing nothing. But she didn't believe it. She had these stories about I did these things, and it got reinforced by her going to fortune teller. And my wife is just the loveliest human being. I call her a saint with attitude, incredible human being. But here she thought I was cheating on this thing. Was driving me crazy, absolutely out of my mind. She got to a point where she was going to divorce me. It was nuts. She loved me. My wife, or any time, even during that period, would take a bullet for me. That's how devoted she was to me, and me to her. It was nuts. But anyhow, that's what happened. So I'm in the police station, and my wife already had a lawyer. She was going to go proceed with divorce. So I'm with the police. I get a call, my cell phone. My wife gets on there. She says, I'm not going to leave you. What's going on? I'm by your side. I love you. I'm not leaving you. So it was hung up. I looked at the FBI agent. I went over and shook his hand, and I said, thank you. So what are you thanking me for? You guys saved my marriage. You know, this whole thing, me being taken in there, this happening. My wife wasn't going to leave. In fact, my wife was saying after that, I'll sell everything and move to wherever prison you're in so I can come see you every day. So I came out of it. They wanted to arrest me. They wanted information, which I didn't give them any. My attorney said not to give them, so I didn't give them any. 3 years went by. I was about 70, coming in on my motorcycle to see patients on a Tuesday. Out of nowhere, these 5 FBI agents come, guns out, the whole thing, and told me to get against the wall, read me my Miranda rights, which was like surreal because you watch movies, you see these criminals, these bad guys being read the Miranda rights. That's one thing. When you have your Miranda rights read to you, I mean, it's like, you know, it's like a Twilight Zone. This is happening to me. So they handcuffed me or put me in a car, took me off to the police station. And so I was in a federal holding cell, and my attorney came, and I said, look, I'm guilty. I mean, I was not getting paid. I billed this and so forth. So he was my attorney to keep my license as a psychologist. And then I had to get a criminal attorney. The first one was dealt with celebrities. He wanted $200,000, which I didn't have. Another guy wanted $75,000. Then I found somebody who wanted $25,000, and they wanted up front. They don't want to get it at the end of it because maybe end up in prison, not going to get there. You got to give it up front. So I got to 25,000. I had to borrow it against my house, get paid the attorney. So what happened was we sat down with the attorney general office, and she said, we're not looking for, we just want a plea bargain. You know, we'll give you probation with restitution. So I signed a plea bargain. Well, 3 months later, she changes it and she wants me to do 21 months in federal prison. So there I am facing prison. So now at this point, I already have what I call the power thoughts. One of which is God, your wish is my only wish, which then became a commandment of honor. So I took the attitude, God, if you want me to serve you in prison, I want to be in prison to serve you. Absolutely. I was looking forward to this. Crazy as how I was looking forward to going to prison. Thought I'd meet some good guys and I would serve God there. And here I mean, this is a criminal talking now, criminal actions. But if you want me to serve you at home, outside of prison, then I want to serve you outside of prison. But if you have no preference, I prefer to stay out and serve you outside because I don't believe God has a preference over every little tiny thing.
Mm.
So
I want to stop just for a minute. Barry, I'd love to get your comments on all of this, just in terms of the process and the way that Arnold handled all this.
Well, I think it's very classic, and that he knew that he was doing something wrong, yet he tried to find excuses. And most people, as he said, do that and justify it so that they can continue doing it. But it finally caught up with him, and then finally he had to face the music, so to speak. And then the rest of the story I'd like to hear you tell, because you've told it to me, so I know the rest. And it's pretty remarkable. So go ahead and tell us the
And we
rest
have about 5 minutes left, so we want to get to this story.
Okay.
We're excited to hear this.
okay, yeah, I'll get to it. So in any case, that led to, I took a plea bargain. The U.S. attorney wanted me to, but she changed it later, wanted me to 20 months in federal prison. So February 4th, 2014, I'm before the judge, before Judge Snyder. I said, I knew right from wrong, Your Honor, but I deliberately chose wrong over right. I don't blame society or my parents. It's on me. I made that decision. I do feel some regret for what I did, but more than regret, I'm grateful to you and the arresting officers because I really never would have stopped. I wouldn't have. And the last thing I said to her is, I've not always lived with honor, but I will die with honor. So she said, I totally believe Dr. Nerenberg's sincerity, but due to the seriousness of the crime, we want 172,000 restitution, which I didn't have. I borrowed, I paid every penny. 1 year home detention. So I had an ankle bracelet on for a year, and then 5 years probation, which I ended after 3 years. Well, I became an expert on the plea bargain process, not because I studied it, because I went through it. So I gave 8 lectures called Psychology of the Plea Bargain, Assessing, Enhancing Defendant Credibility. Sent it to the California State Bar. They loved it. Approved it for continuing education. So attorneys could take my program to get 5.25 hours credit to renew their licenses. And then Stanford Law Library purchased the program for $275. See, I specialize in transforming tribulation into triumph. I specialize in transforming all tribulations into triumph. So that's what I did. People said, how come you're so relaxed? I said, I'm guilty. I mean, what should I be? I have complaints. I have no complaints. So in fact, I felt it was mercy upon mercy. And then I kept my license. I had to take exams, be monitored, be in therapy. And people say, you're going through all that? I say, yeah, to me, it's just merciful that they let me keep my license, that I'm not in prison. I was just grateful for what was going on. And then I founded an organization called Felons of Light, helping other felons, help other felons since that time, from shame to pride, from felon to felon of light. We salute those who captured us, tried us, imprisoned us. You are a catalyst for our destiny. So this started opening up. Now I started to meet the whole realms of honor, the 4 commandments of honor, the bridge, the supremacy of honor code, the 25 laws of honor, the whole honor system, which I have a free public website called honormovement.org, where I've got 100 of them, and not my full 800, but there's 100 of them over there.
Well,
so then, yeah.
Excuse me. I think maybe this is a good place to close down this episode and have you then in the next one talk in more detail about what you've been doing.
Absolutely. And there's so many lessons here, Barry. Do you just want to summarize some lessons that you think are really important for everybody to take away?
Well, the first thing, I mean, Arnold's whole story, it is about, first of all, realizing that he developed this twisted belief about being a coward, and it led to depression, and it led to a lot of compensating behaviors to try to prove that he wasn't a coward, and yet the motivation behind it was this insecurity that he felt, and that does motivate people, but it isn't sustainable. You have to change that. You can't sustain just trying to prove to other people you aren't what you are, what you feel you are. You have to somehow inside of yourself change that whole belief about yourself, and he did that he wasn't a coward anymore. And he was able to then, from that place of strength, inner strength, not the muscle strength, but the inner strength he had, he was able to then do the things he's done. So a remarkable story.
Right. And we're going to come back next week, and we'll have another segment for Dr. Arnold Nerenberg to tell us not just more about what he went through, but how he is helping, again, thousands of people daily to change their beliefs and their behavior.
This episode was brought to you by the Colorado Institute for Conflict Resolution and Creative Leadership. Find out more about these resources at weinholds.org. Dr. Weinhold is the author or co-author of 75 books on psychology, including his latest book, Get Real: The Hazards of Living Out of Your False Self, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and more. Patricia Raskin is the host of the nationally recognized program, The Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show, and is currently heard on voiceamerica.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. New episodes of Finding Hope, The End to Suffering can be found every Wednesday. If you like the show, please leave a review and give us a rating.